Good evening, everyone. System Chalk here with the 114th episode of the House of Light expansion to Book of Hours. We made it. So we're picking up from where we started. We're just at the beginning of winter. We're about to see what a new event is, or what new event is being drawn from the deck. And we've got the beginnings of a Salon, although we will want to see if we can finish the Affair of the God in the Wood first. I'm going to hold off on inviting Agdistis, Douglas Moore, Eason, and Father Stanislav John Schaller until closer to the end of the day, just so that I can keep them around a little bit longer. And as I said yesterday, our main focus is actually going to be on preparing dishes for the Salon. I may actually be short in terms of all of the elements of the soul that I need, but we should be able to make that work out. I was just a little early with using the health to pick some Blue Crown. And the main reason for doing that is I am going to want to use some Solomon's preparation to open up the Wormnod kitchen sooner rather than later. So let's think. I think the first thing I'm going to do is actually queue up the books that I want to read. So let's go for the Vagabond Desk. Now this is going to be the one that I need to babysit. So we'll put the medal in place. We'll use a contradiction. Edicts Martial, and then the Saw. So that's 11 of the 12 that we'll need. This is going to be so that I can use the Book of Thrones. So Edge, a contention. Perhaps you provided Edge, but not enough to match Mystery Edge. If you're lucky, you might still succeed. Now, I'm taking a small risk doing this because, well, actually not really. I was going to say because I haven't generated a perishable memory for it, but an old wound isn't actually that hard for me to generate. So we should feel reasonably confident that we can get this, but there's always that risk that I don't read the book in time. The other book that we're going to be reading, and we'll use this. Oh, right. I need to wait a few seconds at the Pale Desk because the fife is currently being used by the fisherman. And Dr. Yvette Southey on the Affair of the Grunwald Provision. After the dissolution of Grunwald's permanent circus, its assets were disposed of by the Bureau. That was during one of the Bureau's occasional funding crises, and the Grunwald provision sanctioned the sale of the circus's assets for cash, bypassing some of the usual checks for oneric hazard. In hindsight, this has started to look like a mistake. I don't believe I have seen this one yet. Or if I have, I've definitely not completed it. So I'm definitely intrigued. Now we are going to need to wait until we're done with the fisherman. So I'm not expecting to work on this right away. But again, we don't have any immediate need to satisfy this. As long as Yvette's taken care of by the end of the day, we'll be fine. As I used to say in my youth, the day is done, and so am I. But I've earned my pay. It is winter, and the storms have tightened the seas. I am sitting before the fire in the sweet bones of the beef and potato pasty in one hand and a hot ale posset in the other. And there we go. This tool has boosted their aspects appropriately. So there's the Pale Desk. Again, we're reading the Mirror of Melisandre here, so we will take that. We'll take a Faust. We need to add the Mazarine Fife. So again, we could have used the Storm for this, but it's not quite it's not the most sensible choice that I could make, given that I can use the Storm with the Fisherman. And then finally, we take Sacralamea. Sky Harmony. I can master this mystery. Enough sky to match mystery sky. Okay, so we're going to turn our attention back to the Fisherman for a little bit. So I just want to knock off a few of these. So there's the Fife, there's the Faust. So I'm going to give him the Blue Crown tea now. I'm saving the Storm for the very end in case there's something that interrupts my plans, although I think in this case Blue Crown's a pretty obvious choice for me to go with. A nice drop. I can offer my assistant something to drink. And now I kind of wait. So my better option here will be, I definitely want to make sure I'm on top of the fisherman in terms of updates, but I want to keep an eye on the, I want to keep an eye on this reading until I know what I'm working with. Unexpected finds in the folds of earth and sky. Now, the hawthorn blank isn't something I'm too excited by, but it can be a useful input to something, so I don't want to completely abandon it either. I am running out of places to put these, though. I mean, maybe I should just leave it out there. Okay, yeah, that doesn't want to go away. So, all right. Sand isn't the most exciting option, but although I think if we're gonna level up sights and sensations, we might. Okay, I have absolutely no idea where I just put that sand. But yeah, with sights and sensations, I think we'll probably be able to turn. We'll be able to use the loss for the levels. In fact, I think sights and sensations is a bit high on the list, so we'll probably need all the help we can get on that one. Alright, so I'm not going to go too much further on Crowcross Sands and the Moor until we have a clearer idea of the next few challenges. There's a small argument for me to take a glass of water and turn that into another element of the soul, but I'm going to see what our current options are. And I think maybe just before the bells and birds, I think I should maybe make that a little bit earlier. Maybe around the halfway point here. That's when we'll invite Ecdistis, Douglas, Eason, and Stanislav. Okay, let's feed him the boiled egg. The packaged nutrition, pale as December dawn. I can offer my assistant something to eat. This will increase their aspects. It's also just friendly. So I'd still kind of like to turn the I'd kind of like to turn the fisherman into a couple of extra memories if I can. I guess we don't turn them into it. We just use them to generate it. But I just want to take a minute here to think, do I want to use the consider verb for anything else right now? No, I think we can afford another. This should be a drink of some kind. Okay, so the poached mackerel, I think we'll serve this in the refectory. It seems like a nice place to eat in winter. And we should have the Eigengrau now, so let's use that with the cooking. Pickle the pilchards. So I should take a minute here and just make sure I'm not committing myself to too much work at the end. So I do need to get the potatoes, and I need to get the pale marrow. I'm glad I did that, actually. So we'll have the orange jumble to work with, but I am going to need to commit some elements of the soul to generate the food that I need. Better now. So we'll still turn that into money. This sustenance has boosted their aspects appropriately. Alright, so the last step should be to bring them up to 12. I'll just make sure that that's what we needed. It is. So now we can afford to give up the storm without worrying. Talk about the weather, more useful than one might expect, especially in Britain. This is completely pointless to anybody but me, but I figured I would share this. On my way to work, I was a little late for a well, not late for a meeting, but I was in danger of being late for a meeting, so I sort of rushed in. And quite literally, once I got off my stop at the there's a light rail that I usually use, and I ran to work, and it quite literally started downpouring, including hail, all the time until I basically put my hand on the door to the building that I work in, and it just as soon as it appeared, it stopped. So completely soaked. I was debating as to whether or not I wanted to run in it because the hail lets you know that you're moving quickly. Mind you, it also just kind of lets you know. I think it stings. Well, it doesn't sting, but like it makes its presence known even when you're not running. So it's like, okay, well, this occasionally happens. I'm still kind of getting used to the fact that there are just these sort of random downpours that sometimes happen. But I was distracted on the way back. So when I missed a stop, but that's fine because I usually like walking anyway. So and there's a coffee shop on the way to. If I do that longer walk, there's actually a coffee shop on the way, and I was a little tempted to get something anyway. So I get out, and basically it is a repeat of the morning where there's just another downpour the second I get off of the train. And that one, like, you can tell when you're on public transit or whatever when it's raining. So like it was very clearly clear, like obviously overcast, but so at this point I'm just sort of wondering which of the following principles dictate this. Like, was there this great, presence of heart and sky that I was carrying with me today? Like, is this like having an influence in Cultist Simulator is like? So I was completely soaked, but it did make for a really nice atmosphere to record these games against. I'm definitely in a different set of clothes, wrapped up in a blanket, and I do in fact have a cup of tea with me. So, all right. So that digression aside, I think in this case we'll probably just take the severe chair for the event. I know we give up a little bit of time for that, but I prefer that to giving up an element of the soul. So. Okay, let's take advantage of the weather while it lasts. I don't have too many opportunities to work with the assistant here, but let's grab what we can. And then we'll have a chat with Dr. Southey. A soft amber pumpkin. Interesting. It is. I've not often gotten these. Actually, I don't even think I'm not entirely sure I knew that you could get those from packages. But this is good. You can make a really powerful, a great pie of power. Well, that's not actually the great pie of power, but you can make a good pie out of that one. Okay, so I do need the pale marrow, and I do need the potatoes. Yes, I may need to do more than one. So let's go for the potatoes first. These are potatoes. Spectacular. All right. Stretch my legs and change my point of view. Increase relevant aspects using a comfort. Severe chair, unfussy marsh green upholstery. All right, so that's my next ingredient. Sacre bleu. I'm gonna... Oh, right. We have a few seconds. I want to try and deal with the surplus before anything else. So identify as a marrow. Okay. The other thing is, so I've selected a couple of these dishes because they're also kind of versatile. So the heart and the moon, well, technically edge, but I don't think we have anybody who needs edge. But in this case, this is going to satisfy a couple of the guests that I have. So there's a small choice that I've made in the background here in terms of the ingredients that I'm choosing. We can do the potatoes at this point. So roast potatoes, a dish with edge forge, heart, and winter. Hey! Pale marrow, first try. Clearly, that's a product of my skill at playing this game. Okay, so that's the consider verb spoken for. I am going to be in a position to... So I am actually going to be able to start leveling up some skills, but I don't think I'll have the memories for it yet. So I'm going to open the abandoned luggage, long past the help of any lost and found. Crack open the container, delight in your discovery. And if nothing else, that just clears out the backlog of crates and other openings. It's also occurring to me I should probably be using these apples more. All right, here we go. The Mirror of Melissenth, the daybook and dream journal of Abbess Melissenth, venerated as a saint and respected as an alchemist. Melissenth speaks longingly of those we would call from behind the sky. Melissenth claims that the sights and sensations arts that she describes can be used to invoke the dream of a star when sufficient sky aspect is invoked to uplift an ascendant harmony. So that's Solace. And we've got 2 sights and sensations to work with, which I think... not quite. Well, yeah, 7 sights and sensations is pretty nice spot to be. I think this was my Solace shelf. Yes, so I'm going to need to do a little more organization. I'm kind of kicking the can down the road with this, but... it'll do for now. So I wouldn't expect us to have only 3 satisfaction texts, but I don't want to spend too much time juggling these around. It is winter and the storms have tightened the seas. I'm sitting before the fire in the sweet bones with a beef and potato pasty in one hand and a hot ale posset in the other. Alright, an intuition. You just know, you know? So I'm going to talk one more time with the fisherman. It's a little early. I'm getting close to the point where I want to bring in the guest, but I think we can wait just a little bit longer. The Book of Thrones, a legend of the Shadowless Empire, transcribed by Alexander Peterhans from the annals at a secret shrine in Anatolia. Excuse me. In the first and greatest history, a subject of the Shadowless Empire of Persia travels to the west, to the kingdom of the Persids, where he becomes a protege of the tutelary Persid deity, the Scarred Man, who lives in the dark. He returns after 7 years to put his skills at the service of the Shadowless Empire, becoming their golden general. After many years of peace, the heirs of the Persids move against the King of Kings in the Shadowless Empire. The Golden General will not take arms against the blood of his mentor until the King of Kings whispers a great secret of betrayal in his ear. He breaks his sword, forswears his oath to the Empire and the Scarred Man, and enters the temple behind the world, leaving his life behind. So there's the Auroral Contemplations. We have a contradiction from that. So another to add to the list. I tried. Okay, so unfortunately neither of these use moon. So 5 for sights and sensations, 3 for auroral contemplations. I don't think it's too much to ask to be able to do at least 1 sights and sensations. So let's think about what I've got to work with here. So these are the easy ones, right? We've got 2 there. Actually, this is a piece of cake because it takes sky. We just add the music. So, yeah, so let's say 3 elements of the soul. So let's go, I don't know, 3 fet for the sake of the argument, and then a whist to level it up. So if I wanted auroral contemplations, that's only going to need 3. And I've got a contradiction already. Actually, hang on. I don't know. I already said I was going to level. Said I was already going to level that pretty high. So let's say we keep a metal aside. I should be able to do even more. So the other thing I maybe want to work on here, we've got roast potatoes on the way. We haven't made the orange jumble yet. We have made the mackerel. We've made the pickled pilchards, and we've made the pale marrow. So I'm going to set aside 2 core just in case I need to make drinks. And then maybe let's say we'll do another whist and we'll do another metal here. So this is the raw material that I have to work with to generate the memories that I need. So let's go for, to begin with, let's start with all of the music that I can generate. So that should cover us for sights and sensations. Auroral contemplations, again, that's edge and lantern. So bittersweet certainty is something that I can work with there. Let's use shucks. So I'm going to switch out one of the metal for the foss just so that I can work this desk. So yeah, lantern and edge, lantern and edge. I think I'm going to have to roll the dice on at least 1. I mean, I can use the old wound, but why? Why would I? It's been a while since we've had to read a revelation, I feel, so... Alright, so that cues me up for auroral contemplations, and I think what I'm going to do, we're going to need to queue up another set of memories soon. But I'm going to just hold off until we're a little more secure. And I think now's the time to send out some mail. And I should remember that the loss also gives me an edge, so I can use that in Auroral Contemplations as well. Of course I get the revelation. All right. Well, in 19 seconds, we're still going to be able to apply all of this. So not quite how I was planning on making that work out, but I can still see it working out. I think the time has come to talk to Dr. Southey about the affair of the Grunwald provision. So playwright, philologist, psychoanalyst is happy with questions as with answers. These Grunwald curios, I've acquired one of my own, a device the Bureau had assured me it was safe. I had commissioned repairs, but now, as you can imagine, I'm having doubts. So that's a 4-winter interaction. I'm still hoping it'll be safe to set the device in motion, but I'd like to be absolutely certain. So Musgrave's sketches is a little much. So 6 might be the best I can do here, but nope, there we go. Annals of St. Brendan's. Well, this is a disappointment. I suppose I should disassemble the thing now, possibly have it drop down a mine shaft. I'm very glad I came to see you, librarian. Okay, and that's it for the invitation, so we'll wait. So first thing we're going to do is see what the responses are from everyone. Oh, we should use the fisherman to open the Shrieking Gull Cloud. The gulls have made this their kingdom, and they've grown intolerant of interlopers. We'll have to pacify or discourage them. So you should also keep in mind the Rustling Stair. Yeah, so the Rustling Stair is an option with the fisherman as well, given the moon aspect. So in 7 seconds, we're going to level up Auroral Contemplations. That's just because I don't want to double up the effort on the readings. Skin-Shuck Mead, excellent. Murky, sweet-smelling liquid crowded with sediment. Getting a little full in terms of the shelves. Okay. And roast potatoes. Let's prioritize. So we've got Auroral Contemplations. We're leveling this up because we know we'll lose the revelation otherwise. But the advantage is it doesn't take me that long to get another loss. Now, I believe it's just the... No, sorry, it's the Pale Jumble and the Orange Marrow. So let's go... In fact, that means I'm probably not able to complete preparations for the salon in one day. But if I have to give up a health to be able to get the salon ready to go, that's not too much of a hardship. Although I should probably make a decision now. I think I am slightly more inclined to do the well, okay, I might be inclined to do the gardening, but what about leveling up those skills? I can afford to wait, but I do need to make a decision in terms of how I'm going to spend the rest of my day soon. Better now. So I somewhat reluctantly will give up the the element of the soul for money here. All right, the instruments of the heart. Sister Isabel, then precentress of the Abbey Church of St. Brendan's, engages in dialogues of the heart long of a kind called Dwendrazon that has taken partial possession of her body. The Dwendrazon, like all its kind, usually dwells in the mansus, but can enter the physical world by manifesting as music and take possession of a willing or semi-willing mortal who hears and loves that music, like Isabella. Isabella records her dreams of the High Mansus, where she is accorded the Dwendrazon's status and titles. In return, the Dwendrazon enjoys what it calls Sejura, a welcome oblivion. Our mostly blessing is that we may never cease, except in Sejure. There is something more that Isabella refers to as the Sejura Magna, but she laments that her Dwendrazon will not tell her exactly what that might be. So again, the idea here was that we're going to use a lot of the music just because that won't be duplicated by a character. Although that was a little silly on my part because I'm not exactly using the talk verb to generate new memories, but anyways, neither here nor there. The Singlefoot Songs. Father Stanislav John Schaller, priest and diplomat, writes of his time on the slopes of Huashan, near the Grove of Green Immortals, but never too near. Schaller's relations with the grove are cautious. It's a library of the tree, but under the hand of the hour named Applebright. In time, however, Schaller comes to be more sympathetic to the Applebright, which he suggests causes harm only when so invited. The Singlefoots of the title are one-horned, one-footed hill things with sweet but powerful voices, powerful enough to open the mountain. The Singlefoot sometimes trample pilgrims, sometimes heal them, sometimes coerce them to enter the mountain and become Singlefoots. Schaller explains that when he found this last becoming too tempting, he decided to return to his homeland. The Intimations of Skin. Fiendishly complex, weirdly distorted illustrations of Congress and anatomy by the haunted visionary painter Niels Fredrik Malsker. Malsker illuminates the evolutions of the names of the Grail with unfortunate clarity. It seems that a lovely who consumes an ivory becomes an ivory, a lovely who consumes a thirstly becomes a thirstly, a lovely who consumes the name of another hour might take its place. A name of another hour, not the name. In the penultimate illustration, a lovely grapples with a fungoid knot that can only be a name of the crowned growth. The lovely's mouth and other portals gape wide, and the growth name is already partially engulfed, but it seems that Malsker couldn't bring himself to illustrate the result, and the final illustration is only a scrawled, bloated obscurity. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so that's Sights and Sensations. I'm redoing the order here just because I may set aside a health, and that's just because it occurs to me that if I lose the health overnight while cooking, that's not really the end of the world. Also, The Black Book of Brittany, a volume of ink lore gifted to St. Brendan's by Brian of Brittany, who was made Earl of Cornwall after the Norman Conquest. The black flower lies heavy, but the roots of the watchman's tree run deep, and they may not be hidden forever. The black flower, spoken of as a doom or guise, can be held at bay with the last ink of power, brewed from a pale mixture in the presence of sufficient winter and the arts of containment. And then The Locksmith's Dream, A Light Through the Keyhole, the first volume of Teresa Galmier's examination of parallels in the mystic dreams of artisans. The parallels in the mystic dreams experienced by carpenters, masons, and other artisans, and what they purport to reveal about the architecture of the world. Surprisingly mordant and even funny, nobody has ever explained why Galmier devoted herself to this chaotic exploration of artisans' dreams. Okay, so I've got a little bit of work to do in terms of just finding the right balance between all of these elements. But what I'm sort of thinking of in terms of a progression path will be we take Sights and Sensations, we level that up first. Then we generate another loss, use that to level up Auroral Contemplations. And then at the end of the day, we'll do the last improvement on Sights and Sensations. So the idea here is that I just want to be generating 6 winter and sky in terms of memories. So keeping in mind that I'm also going to want to level these things up. So 2 whist for Sights and Sensations. I guess we'll use a metal well, yeah, I'm okay using the metal here. I'm going to set aside the health as a possibility, but because I've got a little bit of a weird layout in terms of like having a lot of FET set aside, I may need to change it up a little bit. But starting off here, let's say we will use... I'll use the Trist in this case because I have more than one. So hang on. 1, 2, 3... I'll say 4, 5, 6. So I'm not using more than 2 for any one option here. Kind of like to do Opening the Sky, but I'm going to do Perugian Diaries again just because it's a book and I know what I'm doing in terms of the different interactions. We got to use a whist on this one, so I guess Matter and Deeds of... No, hang on. Matter and Deeds of Serpents is not... It's a different type of... That's 3. I'm going to change it up a little bit here, so we need a 4th. Winter or sky, preferably something... I'll do glimmering. Can really go with anything at this point. So just making sure I've got this right. So 1 memory, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 comes from the loss that we generate. Of course, we already have it right now. So I know we're a little bit over, but I'm going to commit a couple of these just to make sure that I get the order correct for the day. I'm going to resist... Well, we'll see what happens with the guests, but I'm probably not going to see what the options are with the Lyterian tonight. That'll be something that we can look forward to next week. Alright, the skill is now level 4. Its power aspects have also increased. Now, for some reason, I wasn't thinking straight on the... memories. Clearly... Oh, no, hang on. Sorry. There's a loss. Right. So, actually, I've already blown the opportunity, but I should have used the Tryst and the Fet in Crowcross Sands and the Moor to... I should have used those to generate another package or wood or something. Too late now. So let's do the sights and sensations. So I also kind of want to make sure that the order works out here. It's possible I may give up an element of the soul overnight doing this. Alright, if I cast an object into the sea, it will be lost, perhaps irretrievably. And I think I've got kind of enough committed now to know what I'm doing. So in 30 seconds, the loss will generate, so I can get the auroral contemplations leveled. From there... I'll have the memories for the sights and sensations, but that may take me overnight. In which case, I just sort of spend to get the whist back, I suppose. But yeah, I actually don't think that's a terrible place to end. I can make a couple of notes for myself in terms of getting the things leveled. I am a little surprised that I was able to get those skills leveled when I did. Well, I obviously did prioritize it, but it wasn't going to be a priority. The one I really wanted to do was to finish the salon prep, but I don't know. One food item isn't that bad. Well, sorry, I've also got some drinks to make, but yeah, we can work that all out. The other thing that I need to make sure is I should double check everybody's sort of preferences in terms of food. So Agdistis wants heart, which we had down. We know Douglas wants lantern. But Eason... Oh, that's right. I get to see what they want. So he takes moon food, but sky drink. And then Schaller is... Why am I losing my mind? Okay, yeah. Heart, food, and drink. So I suspect probably what I'm going to do, I'll make a pot of Blue Crown, because we can give that to both Wakefield and Eason. Double Heart. So maybe, I think Fragrant Chalice might actually cover us for that. I don't know, I'll work out the heart side of things. And then for Douglas, usually we do some sort of cater and hero option. So I should maybe be a little cautious, because it does actually feel like I'm going to be using some elements of the soul to brew tea and such. However, we've got a ton of shaft, so that's not really going to stop me from being able to work with the salon. It's more if I give up something like an Arab, or one of the elements of the soul that I sort of have less less surplus for. Okay, but yeah, that's enough for today. I think I have a pretty clear idea in terms of how the next day is going to work out. So thank you very much for watching. I'm sorry that it was a little scattershot in terms of being unsure as to whether or not I'd get the stream done, but I'm always happy to play some more Book of Hours. I should be back next week. I think this week was kind of a tough one in terms of getting stuff recorded on time, but the good news is that all of that effort has sort of paid off. I'm never going to be like done with work. In fact, I usually work even when I have like a vacation or something like that, which I'm sure is not going to result in some kind of spectacular crack up in the future. But I am happy to say that I have a little bit more freedom. Like, with all of this effort, there's this nice sort of blue ocean ahead of me, so that I know I have stuff to do, but it doesn't quite have the same sort of crush of effort. So what this will translate, I think for most people, it's not been too much of an interruption. I think the last interruption is because of fire, and then hearing first responders sort of banging on a door. But I would expect that probably any interruptions for this series will be kind of kept to a minimum. And then in terms of sort of moving forward, I would say, yeah, I think finishing up House of Light would be good. I've been experimenting with the idea of simultaneously doing Book of Hours and Cultist Simulator, and I'm not entirely sure I'd be able to commit the time for that. But I do want to do some more Cultist Simulator material, so I've been slowly just jotting out some ideas for how I'm going to be able to make sure that everything's balanced out. Again, this playthrough is nowhere close to being done, so please don't feel like I'm getting ready to wrap this up. But just in terms of trying to telegraph where these episodes are, I'm hoping that I'll avoid interruptions, at least for the next couple of months, because there is going to be a bit of travel that I need to do, and it will be travel over a couple of weeks, so I will very likely not be able to record. Well, no, I know I'll not be able to record episodes over that time, but I also need to wonder whether I'm going to be able to get some stuff recorded in advance. Because if I do it too far in advance, then I might as well do the whole series. Anyways, these are not speculations you need to hear. Thank you very much for watching. I know I said that already. I will see you Monday for some more episodes. Until then, take care.